is happy. The hour I first believed.
Right now at 5:30, remembering John Neville. People gather in Bailey Park in downtown Winston-Salem hours after the video showing what happened to him while in custody at the Forsyth County Detention Center.
Well, Sally is leaving behind high floodwaters and strong winds across the Gulf Coast.
And this morning, the storm now moves in our direction. Brian is following the track and watching the other storms in the tropics right now.
The Piedmont Triad is getting ready for a cool down when those temperatures are set to drop.
And North Carolina getting the green light to move into phase 3 of reopening. Coming up, I'll tell you what that could mean for your weekend plans, even with restrictions still ahead.
Do you think these criminals would have hesitated to shoot an innocent civilian in their efforts to get away with their criminal activity? You know, I don't. I think that you've already hit the peak level with criminal activity trying to shoot an officer of the law.
A Triad interim police chief is addressing the community after another string of violent crimes. What he's taking away from an officer-involved incident.
Put yourself in my situation. You will really want justice too.
And an 11-year-old and her family still looking for answers 4 years after someone murdered her father. What she remembers from that night.
Seeing that people care, it just touches your heart, you know, and it gives you hope and fortitude to try to keep going.
Next on WXII 12 News, people in the Bahamas finding strength through help from the international community as rescue teams continue to search for Hurricane Dorian survivors.
Plus, a scary situation is finally over for 4 crew members trapped inside a cargo ship. How rescue teams were able to get them out safely.
And wait a minute, Mr. Postman. The surprise, one mail carrier is leaving for graduates on his route.
Wait a minute, Mr. Postman.
What did the tree do when the bank closed? Well, it opened its own branch. I love a good dad joke on a Thursday morning. We'll tell you how a family turned to the trees to bring some much needed laughter to us all.
From WXII 12 News, this is breaking news.
First at 5 o'clock, breaking news coming in this morning from our nation's capital. President Donald Trump says he and First Lady Melania Trump have both tested positive for COVID-19.
The president made this stunning announcement on Twitter just before 1 this morning. Now, he says in part, quote, "We will begin our quarantine and recovery process immediately. We will get through this together," end quote. This comes after the White House announced senior aide Hope Hicks tested positive for the virus. She was traveling with the president several times just this week, Devontae.
The president is 74 years old, putting him at the higher risk for serious complications. The White House doctor says that he expects the president to continue carrying out his duties without disruption while recovering. Both the president and First Lady will remain at the White House. Matt Pritchard is following this story for us on a Friday morning. He will join us live from Washington within a matter of minutes. Still a lot to get to on a Friday. Hope your morning is off to a great start on this October 2nd. I'm Devontae McKenna.
And a big day for North Carolina as well. Good morning, everyone. I'm Meredith Stutz. Kimberly Van Scoy has the morning off, as well as Bria Love. But Brian Slocum is in the house this morning tracking our weekend forecast.
Well, we are less than 12 hours away from phase 3 of Governor Roy Cooper's reopening plan. And here are some of those guidelines this morning. Large outdoor venues can open up at 7% capacity. Smaller outdoor venues and movie theaters can open up at 30% capacity or 100 people, whichever is less. Those same rules and regulations will go for bars, but they must operate outdoors. The mass gathering limits are the same, and the alcohol curfew is still in place. Well, students at Winston-Salem Forsyth County Schools will be able to return back to the classroom starting on Monday. The school board approved that plan last night. It's based on Forsyth County COVID-19 statistics and certainly can change. The first group will be students attending career and technical education classes. Pre-K students will be allowed to return on the 26th. Kindergarten through middle school students will return in November. High school students won't come back until January, and students will be divided up into groups to maintain that 50% capacity. And students and parents gathered outside yesterday's meeting calling for reopening. Parents say they're tired of seeing their kids struggling.
The longer they're at home, the longer they're suffering from isolation. and we can see them dying slowly in front of us, and it's not fair to watch them for 8 months disintegrating in front of us. It's torture. It's not right. It's not fair, and it's got to change now.
We have more on that plan right now on our website, WXII12.com.
Guilford County Schools parents have until noon today to fill out what's called a preference form. So it lets them indicate if they plan on sending their child back into the classroom or register for one of the virtual schools. It also asks if they would be interested in a remote learning options. Parents should plan on completing a form for each elementary and middle school aged child. You can find that form on the district's homepage. Happening now while still mourning the death of a student who died earlier this week from coronavirus complications, Appalachian State University is responding to 7 new active clusters of COVID-19 on campus. A reminder, a cluster is at least 5 confirmed cases. 4 of those clusters are within residence halls. 1 is associated with the university's volleyball team. 2 are within fraternities. The university also says there are 19 new positive cases in already active clusters within the football team. The game between the Mountaineers and Louisiana, set for Wednesday, has been canceled. The university is holding a pop-up testing event tomorrow, that's Saturday, in the River Street parking deck. That's taking place from noon until 5 in the evening. Students, faculty, and staff may walk or drive up for that free test. No appointment is needed. You will be asked to show your app card. And here is where our numbers stand across the state of North Carolina this morning at 5:05. State officials are confirming nearly 213,000 confirmed cases of COVID-19. Sadly, more than 3,500 people have died in our state. More than 900 people are in hospitals across North Carolina, and state health leaders will give an update later today.
Back to that breaking news on a Friday morning out of Washington. President Donald Trump and First Lady Melania Trump both testing positive for COVID-19. Let's take you to Washington this morning and get right to Matt Pritchard. He joins us live. Matt, what else do we know so far?
Oh, Devontae, President Trump tweeted out this news early Friday after one of his top aides tested positive for the virus. Now, that was Hope Hicks, who we know traveled with the president to a rally in Minnesota and the first presidential debate in Cleveland, Ohio this week. Hicks was on both Air Force One and Marine One with the president. The tweet from President Trump came shortly after midnight Eastern Time, with the commander-in-chief writing, "We will begin our quarantine and recovery process immediately. We will get through this together." Now, earlier in the night, the president spoke to Fox News Channel's Sean Hannity.
You know, it's very hard when you're with soldiers, when you're with airmen, when you're with the Marines, and the police officers. I'm with them so much, and when they come over to you, it's very hard to say, "Stay back."
Now, Vice President Mike Pence reacted to the news, tweeting, "We join millions across America praying for their full and swift recovery." The White House physician stated both President Trump and the First Lady are well at this time, and that he expects the president to continue carrying out his duties during quarantine. Now, globally, world leaders are reacting as well. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said he wishes our friends a full and speedy recovery. British Prime Minister Boris Johnson tweeting, "I hope they both have a speedy recovery from coronavirus." And it's worth noting, President Trump is 74 years old, and that puts him at a high-risk category for complications from the virus that has now killed more than 207,000 people across the United States. In Washington, Matt Pritchard, WXII 12 News.
All right, Matt, thank you. And we'll keep following this story as it develops throughout this morning. We have more reaction from lawmakers right now online at WXII12.com.
WXII 12 News at 5 starts right now.
Right now at 5 o'clock, Hurricane Sally keeps inching closer and closer to the Gulf Coast. The latest tracking of this slow-moving storm.
And 1 man is dead following a crash in Winston-Salem. Coming up, we have new details just released from police and how this may affect your Wednesday morning commute.
And a 4th grade teacher getting a special honor. Why the district superintendent says she stood out to be this year's Teacher of the Year.
A lot to get to on this Wednesday. Good morning to you. It is September 16th. I'm Devontae McKenna.
And I'm Bria Love in for Kimberly Van Scoy. Thank you so much for joining us. Let's get right to Hurricane Sally this morning. You're taking a look at video from Gulf Shores, Alabama. You can see the heavy rain and high winds that storm is bringing to the Gulf Coast. Brian, we're taking a check of where this is right now.
All right, Brian, thank you. And Sally is bringing heavy rain and high winds to the coast of Alabama, Florida, and Mississippi. Want to show you some video this morning. On the left side of your screen is the rough seas in Mobile, Alabama. The center of your screen is from Walton County, Florida. This area is seeing plenty of rain, flooding, and rough surf. And then the right of your screen is from Ocean Springs, Mississippi. Some people drove through floodwaters, which you are not supposed to do. Others did the right thing and turned around and went the other way. A Red Cross volunteer from Greensboro will go to Mobile, Alabama today. She will be helping shelter people impacted by Laura and Sally. This will be her first deployment. We of course wish her safe travel. So you can find the latest tracking of Sally as well as your forecast right here in the Piedmont Triad anytime on our website and also the free mobile app. Put in your zip code to get notifications right to your phone whenever severe weather is in your backyard.
Getting to breaking news now at 5:03. Winston-Salem police are investigating a deadly crash right now near Truist Stadium. Meredith Stutz is joining us live. And Meredith, what do we know so far?
Good morning, Bria. We're here along North Broad Street in downtown Winston-Salem. And yes, as you said, police and fire are now investigating that crash. They are labeling it as a death investigation. And here's why. That call came in about 12:45 this morning for a car that reportedly was traveling south on North Broad Street when it hit and crashed through this utility pole. And then it traveled, continuing to travel down Broad Street, crashed into a car, and then reportedly burst out in flames in front of the Piedmont Music Center. Now, when police and fire arrived, they did find one person dead in the car. That person has been identified as 64-year-old Brian Colson of Winston-Salem. Now, first responders are still here several hours later. We're fixing both the utility pole and down power lines, and as well as working on this crash investigation. Now, how this affects your morning commute is that both here on Broad Street, 2nd to 4th Street is closed while those repairs take place. We have not been given a timeline on when it will reopen, but we'll keep you updated as we receive more information. Live in Winston-Salem this morning, Meredith Stutz, WXII 12 News.
All right, Meredith, thank you. Happening now at 5:05, Greensboro police also investigating a crash overnight on East Market Street. There are injuries here, but we don't know how many people were hurt or how severe those injuries are. We did see one car flipped over with the top smashed in. Another car was off to the side and had hit a building. Parts of East Market Street and South Church Street are still closed off right now for that ongoing investigation.
Turning now to the fight against COVID-19, our state is approaching 187,000 confirmed cases. Here's where our numbers stand this morning. More than 3,000 people have died. More than 900 are currently in the hospital. And school leaders keep watching our state's numbers as they consider reopening their buildings. Winston-Salem Forsyth County Schools is the latest to say it's thinking about switching up learning plans. The district's COVID-19 committee will hold a virtual meeting tomorrow to talk about Plan B. The idea right now is to move to a mix of in-person and remote learning after the first quarter on October 22nd. The meeting starts tomorrow at 5. You can watch it on the school district's website. Well, looking ahead, Guilford County Schools is opening 10 new learning centers tomorrow, and they're open on weekdays from 9 in the morning till 1 in the afternoon. Parents can register their children right now using School Mint. Students should bring their own devices, but there will be some desktop computers available. Students have to wear a mask. The district will provide breakfast and lunch. The district is also extending its registration deadline for its 2 virtual academies. The new deadline is Friday, September 25th at 5. This allows families to register after the Board of Education's vote to return students to schools. That is expected on September 24th.
All right, 5:07, new this morning, a 4th grade teacher at Oak Hill Elementary is Guilford County's Teacher of the Year. Ebony Jones has been teaching for 8 years now. Superintendent Dr. Sharon Contreras says Jones is the perfect example of forward thinking. She says Jones works tirelessly to meet the needs of her students, and Jones received a $1,500 prize and a laptop from the Guilford Education Alliance. She will go on to compete at the Regional Teacher of the Year competition. A big congratulations and good luck to her.
Absolutely. Well, coming up next, police looking for answers in the deadly shooting of a 19-year-old. What police say he was doing before someone fired shots.
I'm Matt Pritchard in Washington. President Trump faced voters on Tuesday as his rival Joe Biden travels to a key battleground state. Coming up, what each candidate had to say.